Hello fellow environmentalists, conservationists and mindset changers. Today we continue on our journey to investigate more on one of the key problems affecting our society today, which is drug abuse, addiction and stigma. With me today is Rusa Thornycroft from Hadassah Global, an organization that we've partnered with as MIZU Eco Care to carry out this investigation. Welcome, Rusa.
Morning, Timothy. Morning, Mr. Flash.
With us as well is Mr. ISHMAEL KANKARA, famously known as Mr. Flash. Welcome to the interview.
Thank you for having me.
So to set the ball rolling, there is this problem prevailing on the use of drugs and how people are becoming addicted, and naturally there is a stigma associated with the treatment of this addiction. We would like to find out from you, as a leader in the Indian community, what exactly your perspective is on the problem of drug abuse.
Let me call it this way, that it's a runaway problem.
Okay.
I think as a community from all sides, drugs don't see color. You could be black Zambian, you could be Indian Zambian, Chinese Zambian, white Zambian. It will not see color. It will just target you because you are vulnerable. And whoever is vulnerable out there will be targeted. And obviously, we haven't had that education in Zambia. And I think this is one of its first kinds I've come across, as far as I'm concerned, that somebody has come out there to highlight, like people like yourself. We've had this problem for a long, long time, but now it's getting worse. And obviously, when teenagers go to nightclubs and places like that, this is where they are targeted and this is where they are most vulnerable. It's not just in nightclubs, obviously, it's all over. Wherever you go, like, I'll give you a typical example, the bus drivers. They might be on different kinds of drugs. They might be on weed, or they might be on cough mixture, as long as it intoxicates them. Or they might be on even probably strong alcohol. You can call it tujiri-jiri. You can call it as a drug, as far as I'm concerned, because it's damaging the health. And on that tujiri-jiri, we are the ones who are advocating to ban, if you remember, the small sachets, because it was very, very easy.
Yeah.
But I think Zambia needs a bit more highlighting on the issue. The education system, I think we must also bring it into the curriculum of the education, that children are taught from the beginning that these things are not good. We had a seminar about 15, 16 years ago. We had called some experts as a community, as an Indian community, and we went to the schools like Lisef, Mokeni, Islamic, and we tried to talk to them. But since then, we haven't had anything like that. And we'd like to have one or two.
How long ago was that?
I think 15 years ago, 16 years ago.
Okay.
We found quite a few some addicts came forward, and we helped them. And they've come out right in the community, and they're well-to-do businessmen. Some of them are working, they've got families, married. The biggest issue on drugs is the stigma behind it. People neglect them, people avoid them, and they say that no, these are worthless. Yes, to you they might feel worthless, but if you don't embrace them, they will become totally worthless. In fact, they will be a burden to society, because we need proper facility for their care. If we get assistance from organizations like NGOs, the government, the corporate world, I think we can conquer this problem. We can. Collectively we can. And as I said, drugs don't see color. But if you go into society, like for example, if you go into the middle class or the upper class, that is the worst issue, because they're always in denial. The lower class, if they cannot afford it, they're suffering the most. But the middle class and the upper class are always in denial. They will try and hide the fact that the child is on drugs. They'll try and go and seek assistance overseas, because none is available here. And they'll be in total denial, and then at that family is fighting that problem alone, that way they will never succeed. Because this has to be a community-based project, different people involved, not the same people, because parents can't manage, uncles can't manage, outside people probably can manage. So I think we need to go a bit broader.
Okay.
So, Mr. Flash, from what we have been gathering with information since we've been starting this documentary, is that there is accessibility of drugs at the bus terminals in town. So we're talking about Intercity and the other bus terminus on, I think, Panganani Road as well as Chachacha Road. You being on the ground, have you had any feedback of the increase of drugs being sold out of these stations?
The biggest den for drugs, the biggest is Chivolia. Chivolia.
Okay.
That's the place you'll get all the drug dealers. Obviously, because sometimes when the economic times are hard and people can't go to Chivolia, they move out, they venture out. So they target bus stations, yes. But at Millennium, at our place, our people are very, very vigilant. So even the police are very vigilant in that area. So it's a bit lower. But the other bus stations, there is a great possibility that they are targeting the bus stations as well. Okay, we have been talking about not much about the actual drugs, but this strong alcohol not to be sold near bus stations. And I think now our law enforcement agencies, especially the DEC and the police, must pay more attention all over the bus stations to make sure that if there is any suspect, they must be apprehended. Because bus stations, bus drivers are driving our economy. If they all get hooked on the drugs, can you imagine how our economy will go?
Exactly.
And the transport network will go on its knees. We try our best to try and educate our drivers, but how much can you do? I might be able to educate my drivers, what about the other drivers? The other thing, the streets, if you look at Freedom Way at the moment, it has become one hell of a big bus station. We need to get in. We've been trying, even a few months ago, His Excellency the President came out and said, no, we need to clear Freedom Way. He gave an ultimatum of 2 weeks. But things are not working out for us in that sense. If you have a clear street like Freedom Way, where other road users are enjoying the benefits of the street, and the businessmen also, they're enjoying the benefit of the streets being theirs, and there's a free movement, at least the control by law enforcement agencies will be easy as well. But at the moment, the way things are going on Freedom Way, I wouldn't be surprised that drugs are being sold in every corner. Because there's total confusion. But if we have a well-organized system and sharp enforcement agents, where I'm sure our DEC people they have the facilities and they have the manpower and they have the people expertise, we can at least, we might not be able to win the war, but we can control it 70, 80, 90%, and that's a plus point. But if the people of Zambia don't wake up and don't demand for these changes, then nothing will happen. We will have a full generation of our youth. And for people like me, my grandchildren, okay, my children are old enough, but who knows? But my grandchildren, they will suffer. And can you imagine the next generation which comes in and 3/4 of it as drug addicts or alcoholics? Where is Zambia going to go? We need to wake up now.
Exactly.
And people like yourself and doing these social media videos, I applaud you and I salute you. Because if you don't bring this around and bring it to the attention of the people of Zambia, and if we let them carry on sleeping, then they're destroying their own country. And we all love Mother Zambia. You have seen what is happening in Zambia. People are easily led to violence over simple issues, which is not necessary. Now, can you imagine if our population, a large amount of our population is on drugs, what will happen? It will become worse. That violence will have no control at all. On Sunday, I buried a good friend of mine, Mr. Hakui. I knew him for 23 years. I'm sure. And I went for his funeral. And I was asked to give a speech. I was overwhelmed. I gave the speech. The man was a planner. He was brilliant. He was excellent. He was a genius. He was a technocrat. We lost a son of Zambia who could have done he could have done wonders. He was a leader in the sense that he was a technocrat. We've lost him through violence. And these drugs will always fuel violence. Alcohol does, up to a certain extent. Drugs is even worse. Because alcohol is very visible. Drugs is not. So we need to wake up as Zambians. We need to. If you love your country, wake up. If you are out there and you can do something for your mother country, do it.
So, Mr. Akoyo, to be specific, he was attacked in one of these mob justice incidences.
Exactly.
Very sad.
And it was a very, he was such a humble character. Such a humble character that he would not even hurt a fly. And he was so professional and he was straight. So straight that if you are right, he will help you till the end. If you're wrong, he'll tell you, sorry, you're wrong. And he was so humble. And look at the violent death he came across. That was too violent. And why? Somebody used something somewhere and mob justice came in. We don't know whether it was alcohol, fumed or drugs. Because this violence, Zambians, no. Zambians are the most humble people in the world. The most respectful people in the world. Wherever you go in the world, Zambia had a name. No, Zambians are too good. I've lived in UK for 10 years. 10 years I've lived in UK. And the respect we have a lot of nurses and doctors. And I knew a few. The respect we have overseas, America, wherever. I've heard Zambians are on top of the respect list. On top of the respect list. Because we call it urem.
Yes.
From the time we were born and we started understanding life, we have been taught respect. Respect. Respect your elders. Respect everybody else. But in the last few years, I don't know, Zambia is taking another turn. Especially this last 1 year, it has taken another turn, and this violence is getting out of hand. Now, can you imagine if it is going to be fueled by the drug? By any drug for that matter. And these days, sophisticated drugs which are man-made, which are not natural, they're more potent than anything else. So we need to wake up. Zambia needs to wake up. And we're not saying the government needs to wake up. Yes, everybody together. The government needs to assist, NGOs, as I said, corporate world, everybody. Because there will be no corporate world if you have more than half the population on drugs.
Exactly.
There will be no flash.
Exactly.
There will be no leaders. Can you imagine your member of parliament, if you elect him, is a druggie?
Do you think that the way of life in the last couple of years, as a grandfather or as parents in the community, do you think that from parents maybe working overtime, trying to make a living because of the harsh economic environment has led to kids being left alone and not watched over?
Most definitely.
And
that is part and
going
parcel.
out and finding these drugs.
Every country faces that problem. United Kingdom in the 1970s was perfect. Look at it now. Exactly what you've said. When economic times get harder and the parents are busy working to put food on the table, children are neglected. This is where the social responsibility comes in, especially like schools. And in our religion, it's called the madrasas. I have been taught since I was a child that your teacher and your priest are your parents too. You have 4 parents. Your teacher, your priest, your mother and your father. So that responsibility comes in as well. And this is what has been embedded in us, in our generation. But at the moment, everything is materialistic. I mean, look around you. 5-year-olds have cell phones. In my house, I told my daughter, when you're 18, you're going to get a cell phone. Till today, she doesn't have a cell phone. It's not that I can't afford it, but I want her to be straight. My son, I told him, when you're 16, because with girls and boys, it's a different scenario. When you're 16, you're going to have a cell phone. And you will get what you want, as long as you don't have one. I'm sure you saw my son outside there. He never had a cell phone until he was 16. I don't want them to be on the computer all the time. Learn the computer, but don't be there all the time, on the phones. I restrict it. I don't have Wi-Fi at home because of the same reason. All this new phenomenon which has come, social media, Wi-Fi, this, that, if we don't control it as either, it's not just the drugs, if we don't control that as well, our children's minds, our grandchildren's minds will be corrupted. It's like social media. I mean, how many deaths has happened because of social media? A lot of deaths. All these deaths are happening because of hyping up the issues through social media. We won't be able to control it.
Yeah.
Nobody can control it at the moment. What we need to do is understand, when you read something, and I tell everyone, I tell my drivers, I tell my workers, I tell my children, I tell my friends, don't believe what the social media says. Wait for the main news or main press print.
Yes.
Because they are accountable. Social media is not accountable.
So, in connection with the point you've mentioned on education, I would like you to expound further. Earlier on when we were talking, you mentioned that there is need to incorporate drugs, drug abuse, drug addiction, stigma into the education system.
Yes.
Can you just share a little bit more on that?
I would request the government to come up, to put this, to embed it. Like I'm sure even road safety they've done. Now road safety is very important, but how many children are you losing in road safety? How many? We have educational programs. Ratsa goes to schools and do that, right? What have we done on drugs? And yet, the danger of a larger part of our population is going to get affected by this. Can you imagine if 20, 30, even 5% of our children get on drugs? That's a large amount of children. So we need to work immediately, not even tomorrow. Even if there has to be an SI or something, I mean, we're very good with SIs. Overnight in the morning you wake up and you hear there's an SI which is coming. And I've said this, I've said it on TV, on radios, on newspapers. We're very good with the SIs. Why can't we come up with an SI where you say, okay, we are going to do this for our children? When have we seen an SI like that? No. Let's come up with an SI and say, okay, in our educational system, this will be one of our priorities. Let's do that. Let's convince our ministers. Minister of Education must turn around and say, oh yes, I'm too old to have children now. I'm going to do it for my grandchildren. Oh, they have children, I'm going to do it for my children. And everybody's children are my children because we elect them as leaders. So as far as we are concerned, they are the parents of all the children in the nation. So they must worry about them too. And they must engross this in the education system. Because kids don't know. It's like if you put some drugs in lollipop and give it to a child, it won't know. It'll get hooked on it. But if you educate them that don't accept or don't even buy lollipops from strangers, that's education.
Exactly.
Don't eat an ice cream the same way. Because these drug dealers, they will target anybody anyhow. And wherever you are, they will target you. This is what is happening in Western countries. They target children in ice cream vans. Ice cream vans going around and they are actually drug dealers. Obviously they're selling ice cream to the children, but they're trying to entice them to get hooked. We need to wake up. Let's not sleep. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, Zambians didn't have cell phones. Pizza was unheard of. Just a few knew. But now every Tom, Dick and Harry knows what a pizza is. Everybody has a cell phone. We're on Wi-Fi. We're on this, we're on that. We're advancing and it's a good sign. But with the advancing, there are disadvantages, and these are the few.
Very true.
And people like you, if you bring it along, and every now and again, not just about the drug issues, about all the ills in our society, it will help. It's your legacy you're going to leave behind for your children and your grandchildren. And this is what I keep saying. every head of state is supposed to leave a legacy. And they have, from Kaunda's days till our present president. He should also leave a legacy. And every head of state, if they leave a legacy, Doc, you will also leave a legacy. And this is one of your legacies. I might leave a legacy of transport. I was there in the transport sector. I was also in the streets, monitoring on foot when I first started 23, 24 years ago. I was out there. I was with my drivers. I used to sleep in my buses when we were bringing buses in front. I could have hired a hotel, but I was with them, experiencing whatever they were experiencing. Obviously, I'm too old for that now.
As a parent, what advice could you give the other parents to stop keeping this so quiet and help us, make it known that we shouldn't be hiding away, we should be helping kids or our neighbors' kids or anyone else that is on a drug addiction path?
If you know that the behavior of a child has changed, whether the child is yours or your neighbors or your friends, alarm bells should ring. Now, it's very, very important for parents to work. At the same time, they must have somebody look over the children. And they must have regular interaction with the teachers or the priests if they're going to the mosque. If you have that, and if there's a change of behavior in the children, you can catch it early. Now, it's a community thing. I know it's very, very difficult for the lower class of the people in the country, like in the compounds and things like that. It's very, very difficult because they can't help it, right? If one of my drivers started work 4 in the morning and he goes home at night, I mean, what chances does he have? But then he also, when he's off on Sunday, he needs to interact with his children to see that behavioral pattern. I mean, my son, when he misbehaves, I even say, what are you on? You need to do that. Because if we don't, we will never know. Now, even teachers need to know that. And if you see, when we bring it into education, teachers will have a responsibility. They will be obliged to do it. At the moment, they're not obliged. So, it's a social responsibility for every human being to look after the other.
So, Mr. Flash, you've been trying to help solve the problem of drug abuse for the last 24 years.
I would say about 23, 24.
23, 24 years. Could you just give us some highlights on some of the key examples of people you tried to help and what your interaction with those individuals was like?
Okay, let me give you by an example of a young man. He was just out of school. In fact, he was still at school, I think. I don't remember exactly how old he was. And he stole something from ShopRite. So the parents came to me for assistance to see. I spoke to ShopRite management not to press charges, and they agreed if we paid the amount. It was a small amount. We had an amicable understanding. The boy was released. I brought him here and I started asking him questions. Lucky enough, the boy, I told him, just tell me the truth, I might be able to help you. I didn't know the boy. That's the first time I ever met him when I got him released. So when I brought him here, and when I told him just say the truth, he started crying. He said, let me tell you the truth, I'm on drugs. He opened up. I said, okay. Now, I was also new at this, so I didn't know much. So I started listening to his side of the story. I called his father, we sat down, we discussed, and I told him that now you need to keep a close eye on him. His father couldn't, so I brought him here. I kept him here and I made sure that he never get caught out. But then drugs was being thrown in by his friends, so I wanted his friends also. It was a group, small group. Anyway, slowly, things went out of hand. So he went away, and apparently the mother was supporting him too much, not the dad. Oh, my son can't be staying with you, this, and you're under strict regime, this, that. I said, it's not a strict regime. He's getting his food, he's getting his bed. What strict regime are you talking about? Anyway, the boy left. After a while, he was caught again. Now this time he was caught with drugs. So I advised the dad that, look, if I can't keep him here, then I can't help you. But I can advise you. Let the law follow its course. Let's not plead. If he goes inside, he might change. He went inside, he was given 6 months sentence. He came out in 3 months. Then we sat with him again. And we asked him, how was it inside? He said it was like hell. I said, well, you choose your heaven on earth then. Get out of this nonsense. Otherwise you'll keep going in there. He's become a priest now.
He's a priest.
Oh yes, married, probably children. Okay, I hardly see him. But he's a stand-up man for the community. And there are a few cases like that. I'm just giving you one. Now, there was a group in South Africa. I remember his name was Dr. Jiwa. He was a dentist, but he had this passion, so he had opened something there. Now, basically, look, he had some medication he was using, but it wasn't working. And I was not too happy with actual, but his methods and that were good. His lectures were good. He was trying to educate the children. We brought him here. We took him to a couple of schools. We gave lectures. He had a social worker with him. He had a priest with him as well, religiously, giving lectures. Everything went well. I mean, there was no problem. But I don't think that there's any drug which can counter for you to stop. It might be able to help you. It's like to stop you from heroin, which is the worst, they give you cocaine. That's how I felt. Because as far as I'm concerned, and that's what I felt for the last 24 years, that the drug problem is the environment you come back in. If the environment is changed totally, then you might be able to stop it. But if you go back into the same environment, you'll be enticed.
Exactly.
You see? So anyway, he still runs the place somewhere, I think. But we sent a few boys there. It didn't work out, but we tried other methods and it has worked out. I think our success rate in Lusaka was 90 to 95%.
Okay.
But now parents choose to go underground. And many parents are in denial. No, my child cannot do that.
Yeah.
Especially middle class and higher class.
True.
The poor people, I mean, what can they do? The poor guys, probably they're even watching the child degenerate and die in the end.
Yeah.
But it's not a nice thing, huh? If you have a drug addict child, one parent was telling me, I'm even scared to sleep in my own home.
Yes. The fear of the unknown.
Yes.
What's going to happen?
So can you imagine that fear which goes on in parents as well? And you have to help them. I mean, I go out of my way to help them, but what else a single man can do?
Yeah.
So we've partnered up with a little bit. We've partnered up with Bakken Islamic Society. There is a priest there who is quite passionate about this, and he's also trying to work something up. And we're going to try and work together as well.
Okay. That's wonderful. Now, Mr. Flash, thank you so much for finding time off your busy schedule to talk to us and also, help us see the way forward to this huge problem. And we hope the members of the public will listen to the plea.
Every Zambian, whether you are educated, whether you are not educated, whether you are a manual laborer, if you see this video, for God's sake, wake up. Otherwise, 10, 15, 20 years, we might even have members of parliament who are intoxicated with drugs. And can you imagine how they'll be ruling? We don't know. Our youth are being destroyed by this scourge.
Sure.
So wake up.
Yeah. It is definitely an epidemic happening. And, we've got to get everyone on board as soon as possible. Well, thank you, Mr. Flash. Thank you.
Fellow environmentalists, we were talking to Mr. Flash and he shared his perspective on the problem of drug abuse. As Zambians, our identity has always been that of being peaceful. And it's important for us to maintain that peacefulness because we now realize how important that is with this mob justice violence we've had. However, being peaceful is not enough without us being proactive. When we identify a problem like drug abuse, we need to come together and find ways of solving that problem. all of us, the different fragments and sections of society, should unite and find a solution to this problem. If we do not find a solution to this problem, we will face a huge challenge in the years to come. Let's unite and do something about this. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for other episodes to fall after this one. God bless, stay green, and stay healthy. Bye.